All right, so Ottawa, we watched today as Hoffman moved on. Now, there are two ways that Ottawa can go from here. And really, I think the ball's in Erik Karlsson's court, but depending on which person in the media you listen to, I'm not really sure. Has Erik Karlsson already decided he's done with Ottawa? Is the question. And the big thing, and Darren Drager's reporting this, and Drager's not always 100%, but he's usually got some inside information. The idea being Karlsson, Zach Smith, and Bobby Ryan could all find themselves out of Ottawa by the time the fall rolls around. And they're in full rebuild. What? Okay. This past season was a disaster for Ottawa. I get that. And I was just not understanding Eugene Melnyk's insistence. We were one game away, one period away, one goal away from being in the Stanley Cup final. Right. So the reality of where Ottawa's at is they're probably not quite as good as the team that went to the Stanley Cup semifinal last year. They're probably not as bad as the team that played out this season either. Karlsson was hurt for a lot of the year. Some guys went through some slumps. Their goaltending was kind of average or a little below. So there's things to fix. Now, if they sell these guys off, and the idea is that when I hear selling, that's not player for player. That's okay, we're going to go get prospects. We're going to go get draft picks. One of the crazy theories out there is that they might take their number 4 pick and hand it to Colorado anyways and sell these guys. I read that one today and I went, wait, what? So the idea being do a full complete teardown and then take a shot at maybe Jack Hughes next year. Have they not seen what's happened to Arizona? Where Arizona's basically been crap and they can't get the number 1 pick? Potentially, based on what I talked about this morning, Kotkaniemi may go at number 3 to Montreal. At the very least, Montreal doesn't appear to be wanting a winger on Friday. They could be trading Zadina to Colorado. Colorado could get Zadina, a top-notch winger, to complement that fantastic young top 6 they have. Adding Zadina to Colorado not only makes them a favorite to come back to the playoffs next year, but maybe to do something when they get there. Then you've got the fact that arbitration rights belong to 2 restricted free agents, Mark Stone and Cody Ceci. What's Stone worth right now? Does Stone want to stay a member of the Senators? If Stone's watching all these guys walk out, how's he going to feel? What's that going to do to his totals when there's nobody else in the lineup that can score? Cody Ceci, are they going to end up overpaying him? Because they're going to let all their veterans go and maybe Ceci's the number 1 guy? Like, if this happens, here's the other problem. So let's say they get rid of Karlsson, Zach Smith, and Bobby Ryan. All right, fine. And you got rid of Mike Hoffman. Okay. And you got Mikkel Bodker in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put up there. Yeah, it's Mikkel Bodker. And I'm sorry for spelling it wrong, but I was on 4 hours sleep. If I'm lucky, I got 4 hours sleep last night. It was one of those nights where you sleep on top of the blankets and you're like, it's just too hot. Our room didn't cool down, and I'm like, I can't cool down. And those things happen, and then I'm up 4 hours later, and then I spelled it Mikael, which is the end of the world. End of the world. And somewhere there's a Michael Bodker spelled that way that went, I got traded, I didn't even know I was in the NHL. Anyways, if they sell and drop that draft pick to Colorado, I can't defend this team on any level. Getting rid of Hoffman, even though they didn't get full value for him, and I will discuss that as well in this video. So this may be a bit of a longer video, so bear with me if it is. But you've got this going on, and if you look, like, my brain's kind of exploding at this because I'm trying to figure out there has to be a strategy. If you're going to do a full rebuild, you don't trade that draft pick. If you're going to do a full rebuild and you're going to blow this up, fine. You get more draft picks. You don't drop that one. That's ridiculous. And where does Karlsson go? One of the hot destinations is, well, you can go to Vegas. Awesome. They don't have a first-round draft pick. They didn't want to give up Cody Glass as part of a package when it was rumored to be going on around the deadline. I can't see George McPhee wanting to give up Cody Glass now. And you know why? Cody Glass is a pretty good young center. And, you know, as good as Vegas has been this year, and while Karlsson is not exactly an old man by any standards, you don't want to be giving up Cody Glass. He's probably remembering that little deal he made for Martin Erat when he was a Capitals GM, and he looks at that and goes, you know what? I'm not going to give up prospects this time. I learned my lesson. But then we look down the road, and next summer, Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel are pending UFAs. Now, Dzingel is not a game breaker by any stretch, but he's a good glue guy, and I think he's underrated. And Matt Duchene, they kind of gave up the farm. That's how they got into this mess, partly. I think this year would have gone off the rails, even if they haven't traded Kyle Turris. And Turris did not fit in Nashville at all. And I don't know why they didn't give him what he wanted in Ottawa, because it was a better fit in Ottawa. But what is Duchene worth? And they're going to have to start figuring that out this summer. And is Matt Duchene going to look at what's going on in Ottawa and go, well, screw this. I don't want to be part of another rebuild. I didn't want to be in Colorado when they were rebuilding. I don't want to be here. Matt Duchene has a history of being miserable when his team sucks. And he doesn't play particularly well. So now you're looking at a situation where next summer, Matt Duchene, he's gone. So now you're trading him out as a rental at the trade deadline this year. It's ridiculous. They don't have this roster full of holes, but they're making holes. They are. It's like they had a bad year, and they're ready to blow it up. And I look at Melnyk. So I got Melnyk on the board here because there are fans that want to get rid of Eugene Melnyk. You can't. He's the owner. You can't get rid of him. He's the one guy that no matter how much you complain, you can't get rid of him. So Islander fans with Garceau, they got what they wanted eventually. I don't think it was the billboards that did it, but hey, can't have hurt, right? But you can't get rid of an owner. The owner can pick up and move. But here's what I don't understand either. This guy's standing there in December bitching about attendance. I don't know why fans won't come out and watch. Now you've got rid of Hoffman, a guy who can sell tickets. And I've seen debates in the comment section where people are like, Hoffman's not that good. Hoffman's a 60-point player in the NHL. The equivalent of roughly 80 points back in the 80s. That's pretty good. For a team that struggles to score goals, those guys are important, especially when you get back Mikhail Bodker. Okay? And you've made this move to get Duchene last fall because you believed this team was on the verge of being a real contender, and adding him down the middle was going to get you there. You felt he was an upgrade on Turris. Now we're, 8-9 months later, and the whole thing's getting blown up. And now you might be in a situation this fall where Colin White, Logan Brown, and Alex Formenton are all expected to vie for spots and may actually end up getting spots because there may not be anybody ahead of them. Because what happens here is this means that Ottawa is not a place UFAs are going to want to go. With me looking at this tire fire going, I don't want to be a part of that. You have to keep Karlsson. You have to keep Karlsson if you're the Ottawa Senators. And I have assumed the whole way through that Ottawa's going to do their damnedest to keep Karlsson. But there's too much smoke right now that they're trying to trade Karlsson for me not to go, well, maybe. And it's all in the phrasing, too. The phrasing is along the lines of they are entertaining or listening to offers for Karlsson. That's fine. Pittsburgh can listen to an offer for Sidney Crosby. They may laugh and hang up the phone, but they can listen to an offer. And listening to offers is completely different than actively shopping. But I've heard both terms with Karlsson. Pierre Dorion could be on marching orders from Eugene Melnyk. Melnyk might be looking at the attendance this year and saying, all right, we're going to put back in you take the tarps out and sell those tickets again because whatever, it doesn't matter, we're not selling anyways. But I'm not spending that amount of money on that roster again. you got to get rid of anybody who's going to want a ton of money. Karlsson's going to want too much next summer. Get rid of him this summer. Melnyk's not going to admit that publicly. He's already public enemy number one. I'd be surprised if Daniel Alfredsson doesn't try to light him on fire at some point this season. But where it gets really interesting is, let's go back to the Hoffman deal from today. Hoffman goes to San Jose and then goes to Florida. Dale Talon called the Ottawa Senators last week about Hoffman. The asking price, because Florida's a division rival, was much higher. So they wanted a lot more from Florida than what Florida gave up to San Jose to get that same asset. And we can all agree that what San Jose got for Mike Hoffman is more than what Ottawa got for Mike Hoffman. The quote that I thought was funny today was, the Ottawa Senators lost 2 trades in the same day and they were only involved in one of them. There's a point where you look and you go, you know what, it's a division rival, but we got to do it. Clearly, when Talon called, Pierre Dorian said, well, you're a division rival. I got to ask a little bit more than I'm going to ask San Jose. And maybe when San Jose called, maybe they didn't mention, we've got a side deal with Talon. But they called Talon last night and said, you want Hoffman? How much is it worth to you? Florida made an offer. There may have been a couple counters back and forth, or it might have been that Doug Wilson said, all right, deal. Wilson gets a cap dump of Mikhail Bodker, and there's a swap of minor leaguers and a swap of a 6th for a 5th. It doesn't really matter. And now San Jose could very well be in the driver's seat when it comes to John Tavares. Tavares is rumored to be meeting with between 3 and 5 teams. If he doesn't accept an offer from the Islanders, he will fly teams out to California. I guess then he'll decide whether or not he's going to take his talents to South Beach, or however he's going to phrase it. So what Ottawa got out of this is Mikhail Bodker, a guy who scored 37 points last year after scoring 26 the year before. For a guy in Hoffman that can score 25 goals and 60 points, and has been a key guy for the Ottawa Senators as recently as last spring. I don't know where to go with this if I'm Ottawa, because my goaltending tandem for the next 2 years looks like it's going to be Craig Anderson and Mike Condon. And this isn't good enough. This is not good enough. And I love Craig Anderson, and he's been a great story, but at this point, he should be the backup. And Condon is not a starter. And they're both signed for 2 more years. So, really, honestly, Ottawa has painted themselves into a corner, and every story that I read makes me go, wait, no. Because again, let's say they finish last next year. So they finished dead last next year. And they got their Jack Hughes jerseys already, like, all right, we got Hughes coming, we're going to get Hughes, this is going to be great. Draft lottery, they end up 4th. They've now given up Zadina to Colorado for a chance to not pick Jack Hughes. It's insane. I don't understand it. I don't put Ottawa in the same category as a team like Buffalo or Carolina. But, hearing about this stuff with Karlsson, they're just going to go full rebuild. It reminds me of how it started with Buffalo. Buffalo went out like, okay, we're going to be contenders, and they signed guys like Ehrhoff and Leno and others. I know there were others they brought in too. And then it fell apart, and they just, all right, went into a rebuild. It's been years. It's been years. How many years has it been since Carolina made the playoffs? Tearing everything down is really gutsy. And Toronto did it the right way. They did it the right way when Shanahan came in. But Shanahan had a plan that you could see. You could look at the roster. You could look at the prospects. You look at the fact that when Nylander was probably ready to come up, they kept him in the American League because they knew they wanted to tank it. But they had those prospects that were NHL ready, and they were all set. They were all set to go the following season when their veterans got waived or traded or moved, and they put all the rookies in the lineup and said, we're going with the kids. Ottawa is not in that position. They're really not. And there's no guarantee they get Jack Hughes. None. I'm befuddled and bewildered at the rumors that I'm hearing. Now, if they were offering the 4th and 22nd to move up to 3rd, I might be okay with that. if they wanted to guarantee themselves a shot at Zadina or something like that. And of course, then, Montreal would have to offer one of their second rounders or something, because there's not a huge difference between fourth and third. But, it would look like Ottawa was trying to build something, because if you're selling and giving up your prospect, your top-notch prospect as well, it means this coming season is garbage, which is going to drive down demand for tickets in a market that's already struggling to sell tickets, going to drive up the frustration of this guy, your owner, and the next time he starts talking about fan support and we can't sell tickets, maybe he says, I don't know if Ottawa's a hockey market. Maybe we've misjudged this market. And again, when I see a team that's in trouble and it's because management doesn't know what the hell they're doing, I feel bad for the fans. And as somebody who's cheered for Ottawa since they came into the league in 1992, this is horrible. This is the kind of crap that was going on when they first came into the NHL. Is just selling guys off, not having a plan. Prospects didn't pan out. They'd force guys into the lineup who weren't ready. Their goaltending was And it looked like last year they finally had something together. And then you look at the fact that over the last 5 years, that every time that they've missed the playoffs, they've gone on to make the playoffs again the year after. They're not that far out. But they're making it so they're that far out, and they're not getting back the assets, the young prospects and draft picks you need. How many draft picks did they get for Hoffman? Exactly. So they're not even selling right. And that's the problem. That's why this video exists. So Dale Talon comes out looking fantastic. He gets the player he wants. Doug Wilson laundered a player, sent him right back to the division he got him from, and he gets back a bunch of draft picks. He's happy. Hoffman, probably elated to be a member of the Florida Panthers. Who's upset? The Senators. And yet the trades that occurred today were supposed to fix the Senators' problems on some level. And they didn't. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And it's Mikkel Bodker. And I apologize greatly. I'll talk to you again soon.